basically, we have just to know a little bit about the place. We have 75 acres here in a family trust. It's all in a trust so that none of the kids or grandkids or great-grandkids could ever subdivide it. And they can't cut down trees unless the tree falls over the trail or something. It'll rain again. But anyway, that's kind of the way it's set up. So. Any good lawyer can probably break up a trust, but we don't want to take a chance on that. So lizards and reptiles, the only ones, like I say, and they're all over the place. These are the Jackson's chameleons and all these. We have iguanas in Hawaii. We have all kinds of strange things that most people don't normally see that are up in the forest. Mm-hmm. We only have one species of native endemic mammal.
The bat.
The bat. The Hawaiian hoary bat. Yeah. And I always say spelled H-O-A-R-Y. But that's the thing. And of course people will say, well, what about the seals? Of course it's not exactly a land mammal. Mm-hmm. It's more of a semi-land mammal. They don't count it as a land. This is the one that you're supposed to count. Mm-hmm. And the only reason I wanted to promote the Prichardia palm, the Lo'ulu palm, is that you know what our state tree is. The kukui nut. Kukui nut comes from the Moluccas Islands. For Pete's sake, you find it all over the Pacific, tropical Pacific. You find it all through Indonesia, Malaysia.
That's the same with our state fish, right? They wanted to get a native fish, but everybody liked the humu.
Oh, I like it too. Yeah, but I'm thinking if those of us who can vote, one of these years we may have a chance to choose a new, a state tree, and it should be the Prichardia. Because it's not found anyplace else.
Well, it's the same with our state plant. Taro is not native.
No, of course not. It's funny. I didn't get your name again. I'm sorry.
Bill.
Bill. Excuse me, Bill. If I don't say a name twice, it just goes. Psh. But anyway, Bill mentioned something about exotic plants, and I thought, yeah, it's real interesting. We have an invasive species committee that's very active in listing all of the exotic plants, but they don't call them something nice like exotic. They call them invasive. And the criteria is based on basically if it's able to repopulate or propagate itself on its own, like seed or anything like that, it will be on that list. And guess what initially was going to be on that list? Things like kukui nut, of course, macadamia nut, avocado, coffee. What else? There was most of our agricultural crops that propagate themselves. And I just remind them, hey guys, don't get too extreme. You get too far that way or too far that way, and you go a little crazy. They even had monsteras on there because they saw all these monsteras up and down the road, Cutley philodendron, and so I reminded them that they don't produce seed usually. The way that they're propagated is human beings. It's not going to jump over the mountain and grow someplace else that you don't find it. So anyway, they kind of modified it, and there was some concern about several of the canoe plants that they were going to put on the list because they tend to propagate themselves. So I finally just said, guys, just think a little bit, because if you put all the canoe plants and all of the agricultural crops that we grow on this list, then we're gonna, you're gonna have a lot of enemies. So try to balance out that list a little bit with a little.
It's a little late to worry about avocados here anyway.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
We have avocados all over in this forest because my mom, when she was younger and could do it, she would eat an avocado and toss it, toss it around the yard. So we have so many avocado trees here. It is amazing how well adapted they are.
None of us will be around to see the day, but every plant that ever made its way to the Hawaiian Islands was in the category of the most invasive species on Earth. They were
adaptable to
every one of them, because they couldn't have made it this far.
Exactly.
Exactly. A couple of maybe rare exceptions. The blueberry out of the Pacific Northwest that made the Ohello is not an invasive species. Probably hitchhiked on the Canadian goose that became the nene.
That's true.
Yeah.
And as I said, you kind of, it's this nostalgic feeling that we want it like it was in the good old days, that kind of thing.
It's not static.
This is long gone, and I'll tell you, with Rapidohia death, we're gonna, in our lifetime, we're probably going to see some pretty big changes.
I hope they find a way.
Give it a couple million years, though, and most of these invasives will probably become very specific, endemic items that will only reproduce in this particular habitat.
Because evolution is an ongoing event, it's still happening.
If it happened last time, it turned weeds and poison plants into to some of the most sensitive plants on Earth. It'll probably happen again.
Sure. There's a really
We
great
just
book,
won't
by
see
the way,
it.
if you take a picture of this and try to get it on Amazon or something. It's about the invasive species, and it's a very logical approach to looking
I
at.
like the title, the subtitle, Critique of a Pseudoscience.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the invasive species that's probably had the most effect is us.
Tell me, yeah, that usually
We
comes
are
up
the
that,
invasive
that we're an amazing species. Actually, you know, we're probably we probably caused more things to become extinct. But we also stopped a lot of extinctions by, like for example, the Palm Society, which I work a lot with. I don't know. There's a guy that's going to speak in Hilo on November 17th, I believe. Anyway, it's going to be soon. It's sometime in November. He's from Kew Gardens, and he had just done research in New Guinea and found 40 new species of palms. So
Wow.
there you
Is
go.
that at the
So
Lyman Museum?
no, it's going to be at the University of Hawaii, room 100,
Oh, okay.
UCB
For the
100.
normal.
Oh, yeah.
I saw
I saw
think
it.
I wrote
Yeah.
the article for next Sunday. I'm on
Oh,
doing
I
two,
see.
two
Okay.
articles ahead, but it'll be there.
Oh,
So
you can pass it that way. I don't think you haven't seen it.
I started it.
yeah, if you take a picture of that, because that's my only copy, and I don't want to lose it because it's very hard to come by. But yeah, there's just so much to learn, and so many. That's why I usually bring up the thing about the lizards and the bats and all that, because I realize that history is not always real accurate. There's a lot of false news, fake news in the way we think of
If I
it.
never hear that again.
Well, you'll hear it a lot more, I'm sure, in the next couple of years. For example, here, almost everything you see in this area, this was a 5-acre piece that was totally pasture. 40 years ago, there was cows
Oh,
here.
really?
Yeah. So this has all been, actually, the plants that you see here were planted all since 1990. So
I was gonna ask
that makes
you if that
these
was-
giant blue marble trees, which the Forestry Service didn't tell me would get so big.
You
He
don't
said,
know
oh,
how
probably
big they'll
50
get.
feet or so. We don't know what it's going to do up there where it's cold.
You have one tree fern right there that's larger than any I've ever spotted.
Yeah.
What is
Wow.
that?
This one is one from Costa Rica. Comes
Ah.
from Mount Poas. I
Ah.
worked with Foster Gardens mostly, and did a lot of collecting when I had sabbatical time. And we did a lot of, that was when I was younger. I was the one that had to climb up in the trees and get the seeds and stuff. And when Paul Wysick and some of those guys were saying, yeah, no, get that one. But they did the I did the collecting a lot of times, like, a lot of local people did the collectings when we were abroad. And then whatever Foster Gardens or Omalahia or any of these places got any of the botanical gardens got a hold of, I said, okay, when the time comes, I'd like to have start
Okay.
back. So this one was we collected 14 species of tree fern from the Central American region, and then we collected a bunch more from Sumatra, Java, places like that. Borneo, we actually just recently collected some things in Borneo. I don't collect anymore alone because it's too much trouble permitting. It's just too much trouble, so we usually go through a nursery or through a plant society, something like that. And speaking of plant societies, people like the Rhododendron Society, they gave us a bunch of plants to try out, and the tropical rhododendrons do very well up here. The newest things we're working with now are the carnivorous plants, Nepenthes, mostly from Borneo. So that's been a lot of fun, but it's gotten to the point where, like today we went down to the plant sale and we got, probably 4 species of bamboo that get about 100 feet high. And I'm thinking, where am I going to put it where they have any light? It's not going to be easy. So anyway, that's kind of the way this thing all came together. Then another area we'll walk into is was another big pasture. It was 10 acres. And we reforested that all to montane tropical forest, mostly things related to the conifer family. And so it gives you a whole different ambiance, a whole different feeling. And then about 60 acres of the property are strictly native forest, and it's not going to be touched at all. In fact, it's very difficult to even walk in. It's the 1801 lava flow, so it's very, very rough. And the only reason it's intact is because the cattle couldn't get in there. So, I guess we can start walking. Up here, even things like this aluminum plant becomes an epiphyte. You know, you can take a piece of it and stick it in the ground, stick it in the area here like that, just as long as you can attach it, it'll grow.
Just about any plant in Hawaii has no sense about whether it's an epiphyte or not.
Well, especially here, you know, because I said if this is this where we're standing right now is about it was in 1600, so it's 400, a little over 400 years old. This lava flow that we're standing on, and it's got about that much organic matter over the top. So everything's an epiphyte almost, or a lithophyte at least. There's no real.
Okay, tell me one more time. What was this beast? You said?
Dracena Draco.
Oh, that's what this is?
Yeah.
Oh, I know them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't recognize it.
Well, it's no
Usually they
surprise that you
spread.
don't.
Usually it's a multi-trunked plant, not a single. And I've never seen aerial roots on one before.
Here's what it would look like if you were in the Madeira Islands or the Azores or the Canary Islands.
It's a lot what it looks like in California.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah, I know this one from Fremont when we lived there.
Well, that's another example of a plant that if it weren't for human beings, it'd probably be, I mean, well, it went almost extinct, and then
That's what you said.
nice, nice horticulturally oriented people saved it from extinction.
Yeah.
So we can do wonderful things with our creativity and our minds and our bodies, but we can also do disaster. This is one of the Rhea rhododendron, and it's not very happy all of a sudden. That's interesting. It was doing real well for a long time, but now I don't know, maybe that 8-inch rain didn't do it any good.
I keep telling myself I'm going to give those a try, but I'm still waiting for a couple of free cuttings.
Well, if you live in a Mountain View area, you just can get the cuttings and stick them in the ground. They grow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a matter of, I haven't run across one where anybody was there. I could say, hey, can I get a piece of that?
Or the Jack in the Pulpit.
Nepenthes.
Nepenthes, yeah. These are a couple of them up here. They're very interesting because you can just put them almost any place. They're almost like epiphytes.
Actually, they do grow in trees.
Yes,
I mean, I don't know, does that ever grow on the ground?
It grows in almost sterile soils. Their natural habitat, at least the ones I saw in Borneo, were in this sterile granite, sandy soil, and that's why they have to produce these things because they don't have any nitrogen. But anyway, I tell the kids as we come through there, we're going through a portal into another time or another dimension, and we might even see the descendants of the dinosaurs, and they start hearing that. Oh boy, oh boy. One of the areas that particularly has plants that do well here is New Caledonia. A lot of the palms from New Caledonia, a lot of plants.
There's some really interesting plants there too.
This is what they call the red feather palm, Chamberonia.
Pretty.
The new leaf comes out red and then turns green. Now, anybody's got a good eye, you'll be able to see those cockatoos up there. They're just watching us. Those are the lesser umbrella cockatoos. There's a flock of about a dozen of them that hang out in this area and steal food from our birds.
I gotta go with for me.
Her wings aren't clipped, so I kind of hold a little grasp here. Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
Take a picture of you there.
Casper High. I like this tree. It's another blue marble tree, but I call it a living sculpture because every time I come up here, it looks different. In fact, since that 8-inch rain, the trunk is cracking. See how it's cracking?
See that, yeah.
And that crack, it's gone way up. It's gone up all the way up to there.
Mm-hmm.
And then that buttress will be quite high. In another 2 years, it'll be probably you could be able to hide behind it.
Yeah, trees like that make me feel like a tiny rodent. Even I can crawl in between the roots.